Bulletcast for life.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guest at this time, the daddy of the district, the ankle breaker, Jordan Blade. Jordan, how you doing today?
What's up, guys? I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I had a blast hanging out and chopping it up with you at a GSW this past weekend out in New Jersey. A lot. It was fun, man. The voltage tapings, the pay-per-view or the free preview because it was on YouTube. A lot of great stuff happened. So I mean, we're gonna get into voltage. We're gonna get into your match at a global festival, but we had to kind of take it back from the beginning, you know.
Sure.
So I've been doing my research about you. You've loved wrestling ever since you were a child, and you actually created a PowerPoint for your mom listing different wrestling schools.
I did.
I mean, I've heard people like beg their parents to like pay the money for them to train. I've never heard of anybody putting in this much effort. So just kind of give us the back step, man. How did all that come to be?
Well, that's just kind of how I am. Like if I want something or I guess anything I'm passionate about, I'm going to research it as much as I can. And that's kind of how I got into independent wrestling, because when I first started watching wrestling, I only knew SmackDown. And then I was introduced to Raw. And then I was introduced to Ring of Honor. And then after Ring of Honor, just kind of spiraled from there. And, me getting on the computer and researching and things like that. So in my research, obviously, I found all these schools, and especially when Mickie James made her debut, I was like, oh my goodness, somebody from Richmond, Virginia, where do they train? Let's go, So I always wanted to present everything, especially to my mom at that age. Like I knew what I was talking about. Like I was organized, I was prepared, so she wouldn't have to do anything except for, pay the money. At that point, I was in middle school, so obviously I did not start training in middle school. I started training after I graduated college, but obviously the passion, dedication was there from an early age.
Awesome. People listening to this, or even kids that put up a PowerPoint, maybe you'll be successful. Maybe your parents will, pay for the training at that young of an age. Because I mean, it's become more of a norm. Like the only person I heard of that would train at such an early age was like TJP, but then like talking to like Robert Martyr, he started training at 14, and a couple other people. So this is kind of becoming more of a normalized thing.
Yeah, I mean, you got people, obviously Robert Martyr, very good friend of mine, very jealous that he started when he started, but obviously Billy Starks, I think for me is the first person that comes to mind. I don't know exactly what age she started, but I think she's 16 right now. So if that gives you any perspective, I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Then, a lot of people over in the UK, start when they're, 14 or 16 or something like that.
I think the youngest I've heard of it, Starboy Charlie.
Yes.
Yeah, he started at 11.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And I think he just turned 18.
Okay. Well,
so, I mean, it's
these
become
prodigies, man.
Yeah, it's become more of a norm. It really has.
Yes.
So I guess, where did you start training? Was it in Virginia, or did you go to the DC area, or?
Yeah, so I started training in Virginia at a now defunct promotion called Ground Zero Pro Wrestling. It was in Henrico, so it was about 15 minutes from my house. So that was the most convenient I would ever get ever again as it pertains to wrestling. Unfortunately, I did want to move up to, Philly and all that. When I started becoming serious about becoming a professional wrestler, because obviously everyone knows that the Northeast is kind of one of the meccas, if you will, of professional wrestling. And I knew that from an early age. But yes, I started training in Henrico, Virginia, Ground Zero Pro Wrestling. I had graduated college at that point, so 2015. And I trained for 2 years until I made my debut in the summer of 2017. At another defunct promotion called Nova Pro up in Northern Virginia, obviously. And they were doing tryout shows, like yearly tryout shows. And when Ground Zero went under, I was just kind of like at an impasse. I was lost because, Ground Zero Pro Wrestling put on not weekly, monthly shows. So I was kind of counting on that to be kind of like my debut. Again, when they went under, I was like, where am I going to train now? What am I going to do? How am I going to make my debut? And obviously, I followed over pro wrestling, and I saw that they were doing tryouts, and I needed to send promo pictures in, and I needed to send entrance music in. So I went over to my friend's house like either that same day or the next day, and she's kind of like an amateur photographer. So I ordered some really cheap spandex off of eLucha that people thought that I think Suicide Squad had come out at that point, and they thought I was a fan of Harley Quinn. I'm not a comic book fan. I don't dislike comic books, but I just don't read them, and I don't watch Marvel or DC. So it was really awkward because I couldn't. They would, come up and try to talk to me about comic books and stuff because they thought I was trying to cosplay Harley Quinn, and I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. I have no idea what you're talking about. But anyway, I went over to my best friend's house, and we took some promo photos, and I picked one of my favorite songs at the time for my entrance music. And some of my friends came up, my mom came up to Nova, and they saw me get beat up by Donnie Dollars, who was great. He definitely took care of me. Yeah, I just kind of went from there.
What was the song?
So not many people will probably know the song, but it was called Off With Her Head by Icon for Hire.
I've heard of Icon for Hire. I don't think I've heard of that particular song, but okay. All right.
Check it out. It's a pretty good song. One of my favorite songs.
Okay, for sure. So, I mean, we talked about this a little bit at the after party. You didn't wrestle amateurly, and that's crazy because I mean you're embracing the shoot style and the submissions and whatnot. So people, I think they just automatically make that connection, like I did.
Yeah, and I wish I did. Like we were talking about briefly at the after party. At GSW, I wanted to do amateur wrestling in high school, but I felt as though for me I had a choice between playing a sport. So at that time, honestly, playing basketball. I played basketball at that point for 10 years, and being in marching band because I played French horn in middle school and high school. And then once I got to high school, I also played mellophone, which is like a marching style version of the French horn, just like an oversized trumpet. And at my school, it was like rumored, maybe true, maybe not true, that the sports coaches and the marching band director didn't get along just because they had to share athletes and musicians. Obviously, you would spend first half of your after school time at whatever sports practice, and then you'd have to split your time with your sports practice and marching band. And so neither of them liked that very much, and I was not going to be benched. Again, the main sport I was focused on was basketball, and I didn't want to be benched for only being able to attend basically half of the practices. So I decided to focus all my time in marching band, which I don't regret. I absolutely love band. Ton of memories, made a ton of friends in it. But yeah, that was kind of my thought process at the time.
Okay, it's normal for coaches and music instructors to have heat with each other. I
figured I just didn't want to obviously I'm coming up on my 10-year reunion if that dates me.
I'll be there in a couple years myself.
Yeah. I didn't want to give any rekindled heat with that.
No, absolutely. So, I mean, you don't wrestle amateurly, but you're a basketball player, so you're extremely well conditioned then. I mean, when did you take up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Because you have a gold medal in BJJ and powerlifting. I've never met anybody that has a gold medal in both.
That's actually, I mean, hell yeah, you might be right. I mean, just dust off my shoulder a little bit there, I'm kidding.
The first ever.
I actually started doing jujitsu after I got into wrestling. I think a lot of people think that I started doing jujitsu before I got into wrestling.
Okay.
That was not the case.
How long have you been wrestling? Actually, I don't think I've ever heard this.
Yeah, so I made my debut in the summer of 2017. I
Okay.
didn't start doing jujitsu until maybe early 2018 on a
Okay.
consistent basis. So I just got my blue belt in May in jujitsu. So
Awesome.
yes,
Awesome.
that the tournament that I got my gold medal in, that was my first ever gold medal in jiu-jitsu. And it was my first gold medal as it was my first tournament as a blue belt. So that really meant a lot to me. And I think for me, I'm a very competitive person. So when I lose, I'm a sore loser. I don't like to lose. No one likes to lose, but I'm a sore loser. So in past tournaments, because I lost both my gi matches first. And normally I would have like hung it up, would have been like, done, like F this, blah, blah, blah. But I got my composure. I was like, okay, I'm not doing this time. I need to refocus. And then I just got on the mat for my gi matches, really not expecting much because I don't actually train no gi that much. Surprisingly, right? And then I went in there and got 2 wins in a row. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. I did a little Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It was only for like a month back when I was 15. I got tapped out a lot. It's not something I'm proud of.
look, when you're a white belt, your job is to tap. I mean, straight up, that's your job.
I felt pretty. I made a blue belt tap once. I felt like a little badass that day.
Yeah, I mean, hey, as long as sorry, I'm in my car right now, but as long as you don't let that get to your head, then it's all good.
Okay. So when did you take up powerlifting?
So I had been powerlifting. Ooh, was going back. So competitively, like seriously, probably 2015, 2016. So I tore my ACL in 2013. Yeah, 2013. Tore my ACL 2013. I was a sophomore in high school, and I was actually about to start with my wrestling training. Like my mom, again, was still gonna have to pay for it, so she went to the school, GSW, with me and everything. And she was gonna pay for it. I was gonna start, and like 2 months later, I tore my ACL. I played ultimate frisbee in college, in high school and college, and that's how I tore my ACL.
You've done everything.
My poor mother. I ran her ragged. I really did. But I'm an only child, but she's great. She's one of the reasons why like I keep going and doing what I do. Obviously, I love professional wrestling. I've wanted to be a pro wrestler since I was 12, but for my family, this is another reason that I keep going. But after my injury and my rehab and all that, I wanted to get stronger. Me tearing my ACL wasn't my fault. Someone ran into my knee, but I was really immersed in the human body and anatomy, and like I have my bachelor's degree in exercise science. So I was really enamored with that, and I was like, okay, I need to get stronger. I like working out. I need to figure out how to, do this safely. And then I contacted a coach based out in Indiana, Drew Shoemaker, who I found him through following Crazy Mary Dobson. So Sarah Logan, right? On Instagram, and she would tag him, like, because she would be doing like weightlifting movements, like clean and jerks and snatches and stuff, movements that I'd always wanted to do, but never knew the technique or anything. So she would keep tagging him, like that was obviously her coach at the time, and I was like, let me hit him up. So I just sent him a message. I think I might have emailed him or something, and he was my first like actual coach, and so we did remote coaching for a while, and I learned a ton through him. And we had never met in person for I think like 2 years. And then I went to Kentucky. I went out to OVW for a week out there, and my wife and I drove up to Indiana, and we had met him for the first time, and we've been friends ever since. Like going to his wedding in a month. So like, but yeah, like I just kind of immersed myself in powerlifting, and it just became another passion of mine. And I signed up for my first meet, and I was very much unprepared. I did not know I needed a singlet, and I was almost gonna have to just compete like as a guest, and not like they weren't gonna let me compete as an actual lifter because I didn't have a singlet. But luckily, one of the chicks I was warming up next to, she had an extra singlet, so she let me borrow it. So I was able to lift like as an actual competitor, and I got a gold medal. Like if I hadn't have like gotten a singlet, I would have still lifted more than everyone else in my weight class. But none of the lifts would have my God, would have counted.
Okay.
So it was just kind of like fate. And I was like, oh my goodness, I need to read the rules and be more prepared. So now for my next one, which I haven't even figured out what my next one's gonna be, but now I'm prepared. I have a singlet and everything.
Oh, I didn't know you needed a singlet for powerlifting. That's interesting. All right.
Yeah, and you can compete in raw or equipped. Raw is like the minimal equipment that you are allowed to use. Like you still need a singlet. Obviously you need to like shoes, and then you can wear knee sleeves and you can wear a belt, and that's about it. Because there's you can use like for equipped, you can use knee wraps. I think you can use wrist wraps. There's squat suits. There's bench suits. Like there's a ton of other equipment. I'm just gonna compete raw because I'm not gonna. I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to spend money on like a squat suit or whatever. So I'm just gonna compete raw for the rest of my life. That's it.
Okay, for sure. You do so much cool shit, man. Jesus. Need to get up off my ass and do something. I love it. I love it.
I run myself ragged is what I do. I need to sit my ass down somewhere.
Oh man. So I mean you're in a tag team with Eel O'Neal, the Kings of the District. We're gonna talk about that. But you do have some singles championship accolades under your belt. The first ever PPW super middleweight champion. That was won under UWF rules. And for anybody that doesn't know how that works, you can win by TKO submission or points. So
Yes.
tell us about that tournament. You didn't you beat Daniel Garcia to go on and win this thing?
I did not beat Daniel Garcia.
No.
In the finals I beat Cole Radrick.
But did you wrestle Garcia in?
I've never wrestled Garcia, but I want to.
Okay. There was some miscommunication there. All right.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah, so I don't want to say went through, but I wrestled Jaden in the first round and beat him, and then I wrestled Nick King in the second round, beat him by TKO, and then beat Jaden in the first round via ankle lock. Then I met Robert Martyr in the semifinals. Rob's my boy, I love him to death. I beat him via armbar, and then met Cole Radrick in the finals. The guy that this was kind of named after was Cole Radrick in the super middleweight Grand Prix, and I beat Cole via pop-up ankle lock.
Okay, I've never seen a pop-up ankle lock. Okay, all right.
Well, you need to go back and watch that then, because that was one of the first times that I had I busted that out of the old arsenal. So
okay, a mathematician. I love it. I love it. That might be the new gimmick. The mathematician.
Hey man,
we don't know. We don't know.
Don't be giving these out for free, man.
I'm just trying to help anybody I can. Okay. So I mean, what the title, obviously it's not gender specific. So I mean, what does that mean to you that you can get in there with basically anybody, man or woman, and tap them out and show your dominance?
Yeah, I mean that's really important to me, and it's really important that myself and Paradigm, who's been nothing but good to me. Props to Paradigm. They've and everyone out in Indiana. They've been nothing but kind and sweet to me, and I owe a lot of my success to them for just giving me an opportunity back in December, which kind of like jump started this whole whirlwind of just this momentum that I've been having over these past 9 months or so, which is insane. But that's this being a non-gender specific title is very important to me because we have people all the time. The argument pops up every now and then where people are against intergender wrestling, and if you don't like intergender wrestling, just because you don't like it, then you don't like it. People are not going to like every specific type of wrestling, and that's totally fine. The issue comes in, and we've had this discussion many times, and Medium says it the best, when people say that it resembles or is like in any way like domestic violence. And again, Medium says it the best, where it's like the difference is consent, obviously. We are consenting to get in the ring with another male, another female, and another non-binary person to go out there and to fight each other. Obviously, domestic violence is not that. It is the opposite of that. So when people use that argument, I just categorize it as weak. Again, if you just don't like it, just say you don't like it and move on. If you don't have a reason, then that's fine. But again, I train, and every female will tell you this, they train with guys. That's how they got into this business. They more than likely were the only female there or one of the only females there in their training program. I'm sitting outside of my gym right now and I'm about to go get beat up by most likely a ton of dudes, especially because a lot of them are going to get ready to go to Pan Am's next week in Florida, and they're in competition mode, and they're about to smash the hell out of me. I got to make sure that A, I'm going to be a good training partner and be able to give it right back to them as best as I can. And B, obviously I'm consenting to this. Like, I'm definitely masochistic because I will get off the mat and be like, fuck, dude, like, that was like a really good like triangle, like pop my head off like that. Like that was sick. Like that. Most people do not talk like that, and most people, like my tweet the other day. I'm like, oh look, all these bruises I've come home with must have been in a war with Janai Kai. Like of course, like I love this shit. Like it's just something about it that like it might sound cliche, but it's just like it makes me feel alive. And the fact that like the only that I can think of. The only time I've come home with bruises from wrestling, it's from wrestling Janai. Janai will kick your ass. Man, woman, don't even matter. Man, woman, non-binary, don't even matter. Janai will kick your ass. And, I'm the same. She'll literally kick your head off, and I'll make sure that you can't kick because you don't have an ankle to stand on.
Awesome. I love Janai. I had the pleasure of talking to her too. She's great. And I think that was the best explanation of like intergender wrestling that I've ever heard. Just the way you broke it down, that was great. I think that's the most important part of this interview.
Yeah, well, hey man, I try to do my best. I just, like I said, I don't disagree with people who don't like it. It's weird when people are like, oh, I don't agree with intergender wrestling. There's nothing to agree with. There's nothing to agree or disagree with. And one of my good friends, one of my besties, Riley Shepard, just had this conversation on Twitter yesterday. Like some dude was just like, oh, I just don't want you to get hurt, blah, blah, blah. I will hurt Riley sooner than another dude will hurt Riley. And that's coming from a place of love, just because of how like this may sound cocky, but just because of how legitimate I am. I would hurt her before most of these dudes that she wrestles with. And that's just it. And she would probably agree with me.
Absolutely. So you're in a tag team, like I mentioned, with Eel O'Neal. Had the pleasure of talking to him too. He's a great guy. The Kings of the District. For anybody that has not seen your guys' work, what can they expect?
Oh man, we are a mixture of like a mixture of toughness and energy, a mixture of power and speed, a mixture of technical prowess and great theatrics. Eel definitely, I mean, I can't think of enough. I was talking to my wife about this the other day. I just feel as though a lot of the good things that have happened to me in wrestling, I don't think would have happened if Eel and I weren't together. And I wholeheartedly mean that. Eel is great in all aspects of pro wrestling. And I want him to have as much success as he wants, as he deserves. He brings out the best in me because what I lack, he is exceptional at. So that means the theatrics, that means the facial expressions, and things like that. Obviously, he has an extensive theater background, so that definitely helps.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yep, extensive theater background. I think he's still involved in theater, but so when I watch him, and when I watch our matches back, and I watch him, and I watch the way he just moves around the ring, and even, the way he cuts promos, it's inspiring to me because those are areas that I'm lacking in, like just point blank. I mean, that does not come as a surprise or shock to anyone. But I think the things that I lack in, he compliments, and vice versa.
Okay. Yeah, Eel, he has a great match coming up for Voltage. I don't know when it's airing, but he and Huckabee, they tore it up.
Dude. I love Huck too. So I mean, and I think that was a really good match for him to have. And I'm really excited that he was able to get that singles with Huckabee.
Yeah, to just show what he can do. Because, man, just sitting there being on the call for that, I'm like, man, this dude is good. He's just good.
Yes, both of them. Yeah.
So, I mean, speaking of high voltage, let's talk about GSW. How did you get involved with the company? Because I saw they advertised you for Catalyst. I'm like, okay, who is this? And I just start finding your stuff, and I'm like, oh, she's legit. Okay. So how'd this all come about?
Yeah, man. They hit me up maybe in like January or February, before their first show back. I can't remember what it was now, but it was the show that took place at Monster Factory. And no offense to anyone, but the only match I remember on that card was Trish Adora versus Deonna Purrazzo. I mean, two of my favorite women's wrestlers going today, two that I've had the pleasure of being in the ring with, and so they hit me up, and they invited Eel and I down to the show. We were up in Brooklyn, taping something for IWW, and we were like, okay, cool, like it's gonna be on our way back, so let's want to stop by and check it out. And we liked their presentation, production. You could tell by the matches that they had on the card that they were going to be into serious technical wrestling. And that's not to say that there's always a place for comedy in wrestling, or something to just be like lighthearted and fun. That's just kind of the wrestling that I gravitate towards. Obviously, this past weekend watching Davey Richards and Josh Alexander, like, that's the shit I like. That's just me. That's my favorite type of wrestling. I like different types of wrestling, but that's my favorite type of wrestling. And so I knew that was going to be a good fit. And so when they told me, obviously they had booked me already for May, the May show, and maybe a few weeks, couple months or so later, when they told me I was wrestling Deonna Purrazzo and the brackets came out, my jaw hit the floor. I was just like, Deonna freaking Purrazzo, are you kidding me? Like, this is crazy. So for them to give me the opportunity to wrestle some of the biggest women on the indies right now, it's it's surreal. I can't thank them enough. I can't put into words how grateful I am. They have instilled a lot of faith and trust in me. And obviously, that's pressure, that's good pressure. And I just thank them so much for having faith in me to, take the ball and kind of run with it.
Yeah. I mean, that match you had with Deanna Peraza, I mean, that was great. I loved that. And I mean, it was my first time getting to really meet everybody because I've been doing the commentary from my room here in Cali, and
Okay.
it's like a real family atmosphere.
Yeah, everyone was, and this show in particular, might have been something different about the atmosphere, maybe because the women had their own locker room, but like this was for all intents and purposes the first time I'd really gotten to sit down and talk and just hang out with the Sea Stars, and they're friggin' hilarious. Especially Ashley, they're friggin' hilarious, and we just had so much fun. I was able to share a room with and the caliber of women I was able to share a locker room with, the Sea Stars, Masha Slamovich, AK, Allison K, and Vicious Vicky. Like I was able to Janai and KZT, like I was able to share a locker room with them. Like how crazy was that? And then I was able to, talk to Jacob Fatu for a little bit, and Davey Richards and Josh Alexander, and they were all super down to earth. And it was just like everyone in the back was just like having a good time. Like it was just a good time. And I also love when wrestling shows are in bars. So
I know. I was standing next to you and Alexander. You guys were having your conversation. To be a little kind of like a fly on the wall for that. That was cool for me to hear him give you advice, and vice versa for you guys to just chop it up about the business. I thought that was super cool. And I mean, you got a big win on day 2 going up against Janai and KZT. So that was awesome.
yeah, I'm super stoked about that. Janai and I mean, this is our 5th time in a match together.
Okay.
We've had 3 matches, 3 singles matches. We've tagged against each other, Kings of the District versus Yokai, and then obviously this triple threat. Sorry, I'm like going back in my head. And every time we get in the ring together, it's always magic. Always. There's just something I think any wrestler could tell you. There's at least one person. For me, it's like a few people, but there's at least that one person that you have that chemistry with in the ring. And for me, at the top of that list is Janai. You know who the other one is?
Who's
The
that?
the other one is Trishadora.
Okay. Lariat Tugman herself?
Yeah, Lariat Tubman herself. So, like I said, every time Janai and I get into a ring, it's magic. I absolutely love wrestling her. Hopefully, Mission Pro, if you're listening, you want the Kick Demon and the Submission Sniper together. I hear y'all looking for some female tag teams. Just saying, So
Mission Pro, if you book that, you got to book her as the mathematician, though.
just add it to a list of names that I'm going to use.
You're about to be like Shawn Michaels with all the names.
Yeah, right.
Jordan, keep going.
KCT. No, I'm sorry. And KCT is great too. I mean, obviously a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So obviously I respect her. And she's from my neck of the woods. She's from Lynchburg, Virginia, which is like 2 hours west of Richmond. And I saw her at a jiu-jitsu tournament back in, I think it was May. And, she was there just like, supporting her team and helping out and stuff like that. But again, being in the ring, I was in the ring with 2 black belts. I mean, like that was so surreal for me. And I tapped them out at the same time, but
Okay. All right. Well, Jordan, it is the rapid fire portion of the interview. So are you ready to go?
All right, I'm ready. Let's go.
Have you figured out how to use TikTok yet?
No, absolutely not. I tried, and I'm old now. I'm old. It's past my prime. I'm old. I can't.
I'm not even gonna attempt it. My little cousins try to show me. I'm just like, I'm not gonna do this.
Yeah, I can't.
It's done.
It's over my head. It's past me. app I can use now is like Snapchat or whatever.
Favorite wrestler of all time?
CM Punk.
Hey, I bet you were happy this past Friday
Oh,
night.
goosebumps.
I had a couple. I was moisty eyed.
Yes. Yeah, it's a little. I had to, fan
Yeah,
the whole eyes.
absolutely. Had to get some tissues.
Yeah.
Favorite tag team of all time?
Team Extreme.
Okay. Same here. Right
Yeah.
on. Right on. Favorite submission hold?
No, ankle lock.
Okay. Maybe you could show Kurt how it's done.
Oh, okay. Yes. For him to come in and beat my ass.
I mean,
With a broken freaking neck.
We all know how wrestling retirements work.
Oh, yeah, right. All right. Yeah, give him a few years, I guess.
You never know. Favorite match of all time?
Ooh, Bailey Sasha NXT Takeover Brooklyn.
Yes, I remember that being like one of my first wrestling highs. Like just exhausted after.
Yeah, if I'm gonna show anything to anyone to try to get them into professional wrestling, it's that match.
I know Sasha, she played her part so perfectly in that match. It was great.
She did 5 stars,
Absolutely.
10, 100 stars,
10 stars, 100.
Yeah.
Over 9,000. Favorite band movie?
Favorite band movie?
Yeah.
Or band movie? Band movie.
Band movie. Are there band movies?
Band movie.
I know like American Pie Band Camp, and I think that's it.
Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my God, what is Drumline?
There we go.
Yep.
Some of Nick Cannon's best work.
Yeah, legit.
And last up, if you could wrestle anyone in history, who would it be and why?
Oh my God. I'm gonna say who first came to mind because despite what happened, we're just gonna put that to the side. She's my favorite. The man Becky Lynch.
Okay. All right. No, absolutely.
Let's just put what happened at SummerSlam to the side real quick. I mean, she's my favorite of the 4 horsewomen. I felt as though she got in the shaft for a long time.
She did. We're not gonna lie.
I think for her to kind of do like a kind of Daniel Bryan-esque type thing where she got over despite what was thrown at her and became one of the most popular superstars, male or female, in WWE and in the wrestling business, I think definitely says something about, her perseverance and her abilities.
Absolutely. I mean, Becky, her rise to the top, it was really just organic.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's so cool to see, and that gives me again that whole series, like the turn on Charlotte, even though she was a heel and everyone is cheering her, the punch in the face by Nia, and the pose with her bloody at the top of the steps, the main event at WrestleMania, like. Oh my God!
I think that that pose with the Irish war paint, the blood on her, and then the swag that she had on the top of those steps, that really cemented her into mainstream status. 100%. Jordan, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. I had a blast chopping it up with you this past weekend. Let the people know where they can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Jordan_Blade92. As far as shows coming up, I'm not going to run down the whole thing, but you can catch me at Parley and Woodstock this Saturday. All of those shows are going to be streaming on Twitch, starting with IWW at 12. So that's going to be going on all day. Then if you want to pop on over to IWTV, I believe at 7, for Pro Wrestling Magic's Hot AF, I get a rematch against Alley Cat for the Pro Wrestling Magic Women's Championship that her and Effie, collectively known as Bussy, stole from me. So tune in to see if I can, put her in an ankle lock and get that back. And then Next weekend is Second City Summit. Sunday the 5th at 11 a.m. on Fight TV. It's Effie's Big Game Brunch. I'm in a bare knuckle brawl against Pero.
Okay, you got a lot coming up. I think I'm most excited about the Allie catch match. I love Allie.
I love Allie. She's great. I'm gonna need her to give me my title back, but yes, okay. She's great. I love Allie.
I think you have some other gold in the works coming up here.
I think so, man. I'm eyeing a couple championships at GSW. I know Masha just won the Global Cup, so she's the new and first ever women's champion there. But I also know she's the Solo Syndicate champion. So I feel like one of those belts needs to come home with the ankle breaker.
Absolutely, guys. This has been a great conversation, Jordan. Thank you so much. The mathematician, everybody.
Yes, thank you, man.